The Pikey, Brett Johns, man. How's life? What is the current situation like right now in Wales?
We're on lockdown, but I don't feel like it's a very strict lockdown. You still have people going to work. They've asked kindly if people can kind of stay at home and do their work if they can. Our Prime Minister Boris Johnson has the virus. The Prince of Wales, Charles, he has the virus as well. So there's a lot of different people who have the virus. We're trying to stay quarantined, but I'm looking at my window now and I'm seeing people go back and forth. It's I don't think it's very strict. I think for this illness to really go away or to have less of an effect, people need to follow these procedures quite strictly. I'm trying to leave the house other than my exercise. I'm trying to leave the house maybe once a week to get essentials, but I feel like there's going to be another step up before long, and I feel like the UK is they'll have their worst day over the next week or two.
Has all the gyms closed, and is that the situation too with the facilities?
Yeah, so at the minute I think the gyms have been shut for nearly a week and a half, 2 weeks now. So it's been very tough. To be honest, me personally, I haven't really struggled as much as what I thought I would. I have struggled when it comes to trying to do the basic things like hit pads and grapple and wrestle and do a bit of sparring. I've struggled on that front, but my other workouts will consist of three major things I do is bag work. I bought a bracket and a friend of mine's donated a bag, and apparently this punch bag belonged to Steve Collins, who was a former WBO world champion boxer. So I've got that bag. It's only a little 3-foot bag, but it's perfect for what I need it for. A little bag frame. I've also, my girlfriend's brother has given me his spin bike. So I've been on the spin bike this morning, and I also go for runs. So there's three main exercises I really do every day, twice a day. I'm burning up to over 1,000 calories a day anyway. So, that's just enough for me. People don't realize, but I actually have got a fight scheduled for the 25th of April out in Lincoln, Nebraska. Personally, I don't see it happening, but I've had no recall from the UFC to say that it's off or if it's on.
What is the travel situation? Is there a ban for people from Wales traveling to the United States or vice versa?
Yeah, there is a ban at the minute. So the ban, I think, is going to last until, I think it might be like the 18th
week of
April.
Right?
Yeah, the week of. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the problem is, I think they're expecting fighters just to be like, well, okay, look, it's going to be like the 18th, and then you get to fly out. But I feel like our ban will be lifted, but I feel like currently the US will have its own ban come into place because at the minute they're starting to get it bad as well. So I feel like that they have to lock down things in the US. I know that New York is apparently dead at the minute. But for me personally, this virus is just getting worse. And I feel like the virus is hit, especially in the States, it's hit the major big cities like New York, it's hit LA, it's hitting Miami, places like that. But these are only going to filter into the smaller places at a later date. So I feel like, it is very tough to try and keep motivated in this time because I haven't properly sparred or properly grappled in about 2 weeks now. That's a big chunk of the camp, which I haven't had no contact with anybody. Don't get me wrong. Since I've gone into lockdown, I've lost 10 pounds. So I'm down 10 pounds in weight. I look tremendous. I'm probably lighter now than what I was before the Tony Gravely fight. But, I don't feel like I've had a proper camp for that way.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't have a body next to you or, a body with you working, and maybe your girlfriend could get down there with you.
Maybe, but I'd still probably have to take her down because she probably got better stand-up than I have.
Really? All right. Now, before it was locked down, I know you work at Shore Mixed Martial Arts, man, a gym that I'm very familiar with because you got Jack Shore there, and he's another guy coming up through the ranks. I feel like you guys are building this incredible team at that facility. And the facility is a high-tech, high-level facility. He told me it's the best facility in the country. Can you explain?
I live about, maybe, like, Wales isn't a big place, so I think you can go from border to border and about, like, from one side of Wales to the other in probably 2 hours. You know, it's not that big of a place, and hands down, in my opinion, it is the best MMA facility in Wales, like, by a long shot. You know, I have 2 gyms I fight out of at the minute, and I truly believe, as MMA gyms, they are both the best gyms I could possibly fight out of. So the sort of main headquarters where, like, the majority of the MMA training, that would be in Shaw Mixed Martial Arts. You know, like, Jack Shaw himself and his dad, Richard Shaw, have been amazing to me over the last few months, and they've really helped me out. And, you know, I come into the camp, I'd say maybe about beginning of February, and that was to help Jack out with his fight for UFC London. Like, the way me and Jack used to train before, I used to train out of a place called Chris Reese Academy. You'd have Jack this side of the country, and then me training an hour and a half away. But now we've kind of, like, joined together, and I feel like if we were like the best in the world, because he was a Cage Warriors world champ, I was a Cage Warriors world champ. He defended his belt, I think, twice, and, like, I went to America and fought for Titan FC and won a second world title. So we both got very, very similar experiences as world champions. And we, you know, in my head, and Jack said, we just thought, like, if we're joining forces, it's only going to get better, really. You know, like, I can't name many fighters who have a duo like that where they are that level. Like, I truly believe that, like, me and Jack within the next, say, 2 years will be in the top 10 for sure. Like, I'd be disappointed if we're not. You know, as a skill level wise, the guy is absolutely fantastic, and we both fight very similar, but we got different strengths, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And whenever I have a grapple with that guy, man, he's slick, very, very slick. And we haven't only got him; we've obviously got Jack Marshman as well, who's another UFC fighter who's a middleweight. You know, I think in Wales at the minute we have 2 bantamweights and 2 middleweights fighting in the UFC, which is fantastic for the nation. But the guys training in Shaw Mixed Martial Arts is high level. You got Josh Reed, who had that crazy war with Nathaniel Wood in Cage Warriors. You got Oban Elliott, who's chomping at the bit. You know, I think he's 3-0, he'll be going out to 4-0 soon, and I know that guy's just got the gift of the gab. He can talk, man. That guy, when you put a microphone in his face, people just want to listen to what he says, you know. And there's loads of fight there. Chris Edwards, another guy, an absolute legend of the game. There's so many fighters in that facility that even if someone doesn't turn up to training, for argument's sake, say, for example, Jack doesn't turn up training, I don't have to go, oh, Jack hasn't turned up. I've got other guys there. I've got Josh Reed, who's a former Cage Warriors title challenger. Do you understand this? Like, the team itself has got so much potential and so much of a CV of what they've done. It's amazing, man. You know, you walk into the gym now, there's Jack Marshman, who's a Cage Warriors world champion. He's a BAMA British champion. You got Jack Shaw, who's a Cage Warriors world champion. You got myself, who's a former Cage Warriors world champion. The gym speaks for itself, I guess. You know, like I said, I was with a team before, and now I'm doing a lot of work with Shaw Mixed Martial Arts. And it's been amazing. And then the other side of the bracket, then I'm training a bit closer to home, because I travel maybe about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get up to Shaw. And some days then I would be with my kickboxing coach, James Wallace, in Port Talbot in KGB. Former world champion kickboxer himself. And he's the guy behind making my stand-up improved to the way it is now, and he's been absolutely fantastic. James has, and he'll work with me day in, day out. He's not afraid to send me drills, and you know, it's just an amazing relationship, really, you know. And I'm very blessed that I get to train at the 2 gyms, and I'm very happy representing the both gyms as well. So I'm in a really, compared to 2 years ago where I fought Sterling, I'm on cloud 9. Even though this virus is going on, I'm still in a very positive place, and I'm ready for the next step. If it's Montel Jackson in 2.5 weeks, then it's Montel Jackson 2.5 weeks. If not, I would like to get on that Dublin card on August 15th.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Montel Jackson. He's one of the dark horses in the division. I feel just like yourself. You guys are in that kind of that gray area where top 15 guys might not want to fight you because you're pretty dangerous because you're not ranked right now. But then the other guys, it's like, is it worth fighting them for yourself? So you guys are fighting each other. What do you think about the matchup?
Man, because Montel's last fight, he fought in the same card as me in Raleigh, North Carolina. I fought Tony Gravely on that card, and he fought the Brazilian fighter. And to be honest, like a lot of people felt like I took the fight of the night from Montel. It was a good fight, man. I was watching that fight back. I thought it was a fantastic fight. I've spoke to Montel once or twice, like even that fight week, you know. Man, at the end of the day, styles make matchups, you know. I fought guys his height and his sort of stature. I fought a guy called Wild Watson who was very similar sizing to Montel Jackson, but probably favoured the grappling. Like Montel Jackson is very strong for the weight. He's a southpaw. He's very tall. You know, I like them styles of fights. You know, it's going to make me improve as a fighter. Like before going into quarantine, I was working a lot on how to get in tight on a tall southpaw fighter. And to be honest, I felt good going into camp. You know, I'm not going to lie about it. I felt fit. I felt healthy. You know, my resting heart rate at the minute is just under 40 beats per minute. You know, I'm the thing for me is I felt like I needed to. My fitness is my best attribute. You know, people say I'm going to outwork this guy. Not one guy in my whole career has outworked me when it comes to pace. You know, I'm not saying that Montel won't be fit, but if we're going to play the pace game, then that's somewhere he doesn't want to be with me. You know, I've fought 5-5s, I've fought 3-5s, I fought 8 rounds in one night for my first world title. You know, people forget that, and I feel like with Montel, it would be trying to keep the distance really, really close, but then again, you know, not being too far away, because that 1-2 he's got is a dangerous weapon. And it hasn't been taken lightly, you know. Every single fighter in that division has a very, very good tool or good asset to use. And with Montel, I feel like his 1-2 is one of his best tools. You know, that left hand is quite quick. Doesn't so much have the Conor McGregor-esque power in it, but the speed and accuracy on the shot is very, very good. So the left hand would be a big thing for me to watch out for.
Yeah, the bantamweight division is stacked. It's like, it's an understatement when you say stacked, right? The bantamweight division is just ridiculous, and you guys are facing off against each other. It feels like fight of the night material, no matter where you put that fight on any card. Now, you've talked about development, right? In for many years you were undefeated, right? You were just at the highest, and when you came into the UFC, everybody was high on you. And then you hit a roadblock in 2018. You went in there, you didn't perform the way you wanted to perform. What did you learn from those two experiences that year?
My teammate Scott Pedersen said it best, and a happy fighter is a very dangerous fighter. And I took that on board for a very long time. I wasn't in a very positive light in 2018, only when it comes to actual fighting itself. Like, my personal life is good. It always has been good, you know what I mean? I feel like I live a very relaxed and probably stress-free lifestyle, really, you know. But when it comes to fighting, especially, it was after the calf slicer, man. I think after the calf slicer, being 15-0, just won a bonus. And then I hit January and my mindset just changed. I went from being the best, happiest guy in the world to hating what I was doing. I hated being in the gym. The Aljamain Sterling fight kind of was like, wow, that's a big setup. There was a couple of things involved in camp where, you know, it didn't get sorted out until very late in camp, and then obviously the fight happened, and honestly, I felt like I was in a video game and someone was playing me. You know, it wasn't like I didn't feel like it was me in there, you know, and I regret that. I really do regret, because take nothing away from Sterling, as out of all my fights, the best guy I have fought is him by a long shot. You know, the way he reads an MMA game isn't like anybody else. You know, he was. People are like, oh, he's crazy strong. I didn't feel like he was like the strongest guy I ever fought. I didn't feel like he was the quickest guy I ever fought, but when it come to his brain, what he was doing things usually, like, I fought 15 times before Sterling, and all the fighters do similar sort of attributes while Sterling was doing something completely different. So, like, for example, put it this way, in like a different way, like some fighters will go 1-2 left hook. Like Sterling won't work that way. Sterling will go 1-2, 2-2 left hook, 2-2. Do you know what I mean? So it was no rhythm with it, so it's very hard to track. But because my brain wasn't switched on, like now I would probably adapt with that straight away in the fight, and I didn't adapt with it. There was mistakes I did in the Sterling fight, which I feel like a white belt would do, and like it kills me to say it really, because of, you know, I train 3 times a day, 6 days a week when I'm in camp, you know, and I train hard as well. So them little mistakes, it really gets to me when I do them. And you know, looking back now, if I could go in there with Sterling again, I'm not saying the outcome would be different. I could potentially say he could knock me clean out, but what I am saying is at least then I'd be able to deal with the fact that it was me in there. Because I still feel like there was the same with Pedro to a certain extent, with the Pedro Munoz after the Sterling fight. There was demons going into the Sterling fight, but there was even more demons coming out of the Sterling fight, if you understand what I mean. Like, physically for Sterling, and the weight cut was perfect. There was nothing else I would have changed. In fact, I think they were the best weight cuts I did. And I felt amazing. So, physically, I felt brilliant for that fight. I just didn't feel switched on. And then getting over the Sterling fight, I went straight back in the train, took a shorter notice fight against, like, Pedro. I think the camp for Sterling was 12 weeks, and I think the camp for Pedro was more like 6 weeks, I think. And I felt the same thing again. I felt good, went to the camp and lost the decision, but I haven't got that same sort of, I haven't got the same feeling towards Pedro as I did with the Sterling fight, if you understand what I mean. I felt like I was getting over the Sterling fight, and when I had that war with Pedro, I feel like, yeah, I got over that mental, like, hurdle. You know what I mean? I don't know why my mind thought that, but after the Pedro fight, a weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I felt I was back to that, like, older Brett Johns then. Still not in the right place, but back to where I was at, sort of, you know?
You talked about your brother. He helped you. He saved your career. You went and spent 3 weeks in Vegas. What exactly happened in Vegas that changed everything?
Yeah, no, that's that. To be honest, this is all tying in with each other. It all is, you know. For example, like, I got back from the Pedro fight, and if anybody remembers, it was a tough fight. I left that place with apparently it was a fractured eye socket or whatever it was, and I had to get carried out of the cage. But as a fight, it's one of my favorite fights to watch. You know, as a fan of fighting, I enjoy watching that fight. You know, and you can see the toughness in some people, and I felt like I showed that night, and I like that, because any other fighter who wants to fight me now is going to go, well, this guy is tough, you know. And I got back, and then I wanted to fight in November. That didn't end up getting done. And Brian Butler, my manager for Sucker Punch, kind of said, look, mate, it's not going to happen. You've had a tough fight. Look, just take your time, you know. And then we hit Christmas time, and then I took a Polaris grappling fight against a really high-level jiu-jitsu guy, and he heel hooked me in like 40 seconds, and it kind of gave a partial tear my MCL. So that was a few months out, and then I was getting over that over Christmas, come back into the new year, and then I was training with my cousin, and then it just nice and light, it was just technical, and then I kicked my left leg out, and my LCL went. So my LCL had a tear in it, so within 2 months I did my MCL and my LCL on both legs, and I started getting over that, and then so before I teared the LCL, I was meant to fight Eddie Wineland in UFC Nashville last March, and as I did that in training, I found out the name in the morning, and in the night my knee popped, and that was that for a few months, and then I had nothing. I think I went through February, March, and then the beginning of April, where I was just in a lull. I was going out with my friends. Like, social life was fantastic. You know, I was going out with the friends that I haven't been out with for a long time. I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I was happy. You know, my social life was amazing. But as my career, yeah, I hit rock bottom. The thought of maybe quitting, yeah, that popped in my head a few times. You know, stopping while I was ahead. I was thinking about getting a job. I had no money in at the time. And then my brother pulled me aside and said, look, he said, you can't stop now. You know, I got to 13th in the world. He said, you know, and you're young. Like, I'm only 28 now. This was when I was like 27, 26. So he's like, look, you need to get back in there, get to Vegas, do what they tell you to do, and then we look for a fight. He said, it doesn't matter when it gets done, we'll look for a fight. So then I went to Vegas for 3 weeks, met up with the guys, you know, Heather, Bobby, Tara. There was loads of guys. Kyle Larimer, who's like my S&C coach, who's sending me stuff through now. He's an amazing guy, Kyle is. Clint and Duncan, Forrest Griffin, met all the guys there. And for 3 weeks, man, it put me back into Brett Johns, the guy who was socialising on the weekend, to Brett Johns back to the fighting, what my job is, you know. And I was there. I was in Vegas. I'll put it this way, I was quite big. So when I walked in the gym, they were like, how much you weigh? And I'm like, I'm a 35er, right? Okay. And I walk in, I'm 170. And that's waking up in the morning, like, you know, no food the night before. And they're like, what have you done to yourself? And I'm like, oh, you know, I just didn't enjoy myself. And I started getting the weight down, and then I come back from Vegas, and I didn't touch a drop of alcohol. I was just going ahead into training, and I loved my training that time. Still looking for a fight, was really struggling to get a fight. There was mention of a short notice bout in Vegas. I signed up to fight Renan Barão in Brazil, but it was bantamweight, but then he wanted to go to featherweight, which was his last fight, so he ended up going to featherweight. So that fight got called off. I wanted to jump on the South Korea card as well, the Korean Zombie versus Ortega originally, before it changed to Frankie Edgar. I said I wanted to jump on that card. That was full up. And then they said, look, it's your choice what you want to do. So this was in like the beginning of December. They said you got a choice of, oh, no, sorry, it wasn't that. It was, they offered me a fight in Vegas on the Conor McGregor and Cerrone undercard, which I took because I thought that was hell of an idea. And they kind of gave me an option. They said, look, you can either wait until London or you can take this fight. And at the time, like, money was tight and I just wanted to get back in there. You know, I'd had a long enough layoff. So I said, look, I'll take the on the Donald Cerrone card. And then as I accept that fight, that ended up changing to UFC Rally. And then I fought Tony Gravely on that card. And I'm glad I took the fight now because the illness has completely wiped out the UFC London card. That has disappeared. But personally, I'm glad I went with that fight because it's one of the last UFCs before this virus has come in. And, you know, I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones who managed to get in there before this virus took off. And, you know, they said Montel Jackson for Lincoln, Nebraska. Man, I can't see that happening in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Like, I really can't, you know. I think we have another week on lockdown, but it's going to be longer, man. And I feel like as well that I'm going to be a bit stuck when it comes to, you know, how can you accept a fight without having proper training? If that's the case, I'll take a fight for next Saturday, you know what I mean? But, you know, my weight at the minute is really good. My weight is down. You know, that's the big thing for me at the minute would be the weight issue. Since I've joined the UFC, it's never really been an issue. But, you know, I'm walking around. I like to go into fight week at 150, and like I woke up this morning at 153. So, you know, I'm good there when it comes to the weight. I'm lighter than what I was for the Gravely fight, but it's just waiting in limbo now to see what's going on.
Yeah, your journey for the last 2 years or so has been a perfect example of fighters, you know, as much as it is physical, the mental side has to be there 100%. And a lot of fighters, or not fighters, a lot of fans, they never think about that.
Yeah, that people don't see the, like, for example, now, you know, I haven't any like rubbish food for over like 7 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, like, because I'm thinking this fight's going ahead, like, you know. Truthfully, in my mind, it's not going ahead, but I'm still dieting as if I am normally, and I'm still going ahead as if the fight's going on, but it's not. And I'm putting my body through this sacrifice for them to turn around last minute and go, we've cancelled the show. Very frustrating, man. Very, very frustrating. You know, it'd be nice just to have a bit of cheesecake, if I'm honest.
I want some cheesecake too. Well,
yeah,
I hope it all works out and you do get the fight on April 25th in Lincoln, Nebraska. Maybe if it's not in Lincoln, Nebraska, somewhere you get to fight someone, because all of this training that you're doing, all of this sacrifice that you're making, it has to result into something eventually. So, Brett, man, thank you. And it was great to get you on for the first time, and hopefully we speak many more times.
Oh, 100%. Thanks for having me, and thank you for spending your time having a chat with me. Thank you.